As of recently, 2 days ago from this recording, thousands of Forest Service jobs have been eliminated here in the US. What does that mean for us as outdoor enthusiasts, whether you're a hiker, a backpacker, a hunter, basically anybody who enjoys public lands, public trails? What does that look like for us going forward? Why is this happening? And is there anything we can do to prevent this? So I want to be very clear about this. These cuts are unprecedented. Yes, cuts have happened before in these agencies, but not to this degree or this severity. What exactly has been cut and why? So the National Park Service has seen a reduction of about 1,000 employees, which is roughly 5% of their active workforce. The United States Forest Service has seen a reduction of about 3,400 employees, which is about 10% of their active workforce. And let me be clear about this. These agencies were already severely understaffed, severely overworked, and quite honestly, and obviously very unappreciated. Federal cuts have been happening across the board for almost every federal agency, and the National Park Service and the United States Forest Service are a federal agency as well. So unfortunately, they are not immune. So what does that mean for us as hikers and backpackers and anybody who enjoys public lands and public trails? What does that mean for us going forward? Well, first and foremost, and probably the most obvious one, is trail maintenance. So these agencies are charged in part of maintaining our public trails and our public lands and access to our public lands and trails. And most people think of trail maintenance of just removing trees and removing debris that falls into the trail, which is part of it, but it goes way beyond that. We're talking erosion control, which is a huge destroyer of trails and actually very, very hard to mitigate. We're talking backcountry structures like privies, boardwalks, bridges, things that are already dilapidated. And these are all issues that all these agencies had trouble with before these cuts occurred. So it's not like these will just start to decline. These have already been in decline and will continue, and more quickly, I assume, will decline due to these cuts. And with that lack of trail maintenance comes potentially access issues to these trails and to these public lands, right? If you can't get to where you need to go, you can't enjoy what you want to enjoy. Another ramification, and probably more serious than the actual trail maintenance, is safety risks and safety hazards. So these agencies, in part, are responsible for responding to these safety issues, concerns, and emergencies. And again, they were already overwhelmed with the amount of work they had to do in this regard. And I just don't see how a reduction of this size in this particular workforce will be a benefit to those who are in dire need. So whether that's someone who needs a full rescue, someone who needs guidance down the trail, someone who's injured, someone who needs medical attention, those response times probably or could be hindered going forward. And overall, there's just going to be less enforcement on the trail. So these agencies are charged with maintaining order out in the backcountry, right? To deter illegal camping, illegal fires, poaching. All that stuff is without a doubt going to increase with a 5 to 10% reduction in a workforce that was already overwhelmingly struggling to keep up with that stuff already. So another huge ramification here is fire management. So these agencies in part are in charge of fire breaks and doing controlled burns and clearing debris. All very important things that help prevent wildfires, or they will just not have enough staff to spot these wildfires or to prevent them from spreading once they do start. I mean, we've seen the devastation out in California, and obviously the United States Forest Service and National Park Service isn't 100% in charge of maintaining fires like that. They do play a part in helping mitigate those fires and doing everything they can to prevent those fires from happening in the first place. And a way to look at this is with all those fires occurring, people say, why? Well, it's because they're already, again, understaffed and overwhelmed. There's so much forest, there's so much public land. They can't keep up before these cuts occurred. So how the heck are they going to keep up now? Now, in a lot of these public lands, you need permits to go hunting. You need permits to go hiking and backpacking. And with the reduction of workforce, I would imagine that that already very, very slow process is going to be slowed even more. or they just simply don't have the staff or manpower to issue as many permits as they did before. So you're potentially looking at delays in hunting licenses, you're looking at delays in backcountry permits, anything to do with getting some sort of piece of paper or certification or permit to allow you to do the thing that you love. I don't see that process happening much quicker. Even more tragically, they just won't have the staff to do it, so they just simply won't register or allow as many people into the backcountry as they once did. And although these agencies were partly responsible for everything that I had just mentioned previous to this, a lot of work comes from volunteers too, right? So from donations, from people who volunteer their time and their hours to help these agencies and to help keep these public lands and public trails as beautiful and as accessible to everyone as humanly possible. Well, with the reduction of staff like we've seen, we will have to rely heavily on these volunteers. So more volunteer work, more volunteer hours, more volunteers money, um, which to be frank, there isn't enough volunteers nor donations to replace the staff that is going away. So is there anything we can do to help this situation? Well, like I said, you can volunteer your time, you can volunteer your services, you can make more donations to the clubs that help maintain and promote and protect these trails. That would be a good first step. Step number two is just contact your local lawmakers and just say, hey, this is important to me. And it's important to the future generations and myself that we maintain these public lands and these public trails to the utmost standards that we possibly can. And unfortunately, you'll just have to probably be a little more self-reliant, right? So with the reduction of staff and trail maintenance in decline, structures in decline, you'll just have to rely on your backcountry skills a little more. You'll have to be more careful. You have to be more cautious. Take care of yourself out there. I appreciate you watching. Hit like for me. Let's help get this video out so we can spread the word about these cuts because these are impactful. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.